Welcome to the Bay. We're diving into a real classic hardware showdown today. In one corner, you've got the heavyweight veteran, the RTX 3070, a card famous for its raw brute force power. And in the other corner, the new challenger, the younger, leaner, and, well, a whole lot smarter RTX 4060. This isn't just about which card is faster, folks. It's about which one is right for your build.
Okay, so let's really frame this matchup. The RTX 3070, that's our champ, right? It was built for one thing, pure, unadulterated 1440p horsepower. The RTX 4060, though, it's the new contender, and it's playing a totally different game. It's all about modern efficiency and some seriously impressive AI magic. We've got two completely different philosophies here and one big question. Which one deserves a spot in your rig? All right, for our first round, we're stripping everything back. No fancy features, no AI tricks. We're just looking at one thing, pure, raw frames per second. This is a drag race, plain and simple, to see which of these GPUs has more muscle. Let's get to the numbers. And bam, right out of the gate in a punishing game like Cyberpunk 2077, the 3070 just flexes and pulls ahead. Now, the reason for this is actually pretty interesting. It comes down to the 3070's wider 256-bit memory bus. Think of it like a bigger highway for data. It can just feed that GPU information faster, giving it a real clear edge in these super intense games. So how does that translate to a fast-paced competitive shooter? Well, here in Warzone, that raw power advantage continues. For all you competitive players out there chasing every single frame, that 20 FPS difference from the 3070, that's not just a number on a chart, that's a real tangible advantage in a firefight. And to really nail the point home, here's another demanding AAA title, Starfield. And what do you know? It's the same story. The 3070 consistently stays out in front, just delivering a smoother experience without any software help. The evidence in this first round is, well, pretty overwhelming. So the bottom line for round one is this. In a straight-up fight, no tricks, no special moves, the RTX 3070 is the hands-down winner. It's just a more powerful card when it comes to raw gaming performance, usually leading by a pretty big margin. But, and this is a big but, the story is far from over. And now for round two, where things get really interesting. See, raw power isn't the whole story anymore. The RTX 4060 has some next-gen tech hiding up its sleeve, tricks that let it fight back in a completely different way. This is where our challenger makes its big comeback. Would you just look at this number? The RTX 4060 sips power, maxing out at just 115 watts. That is, honestly, it's kind of insane how efficient that is. And this isn't just about saving a few bucks on your electricity bill. This has huge implications for heat, noise, and even the size of the PC you can build. Now, let's contrast that with the 3070, which is pulling nearly double the power at 220 watts. I mean, that extra power is where its higher performance comes from, sure, but it also means it's pumping out a lot more heat. It absolutely needs a beefier power supply and better case cooling to keep it happy. Okay, now we get to the 4060's secret weapon. It's called DLSS3 frame generation. This is an AI-powered magic trick that's only on the 40 series cards. It doesn't just render frames faster. It literally creates brand new frames out of thin air and slots them in between the normal ones. In games that support it, this can give you a massive, almost unbelievable jump in smoothness and FPS. So when you put it all together, the 4060's modern toolkit is seriously compelling. You've got that game-changing DLSS3, you've got the newer AV1 encoding, which is a huge deal for streamers, by the way. And of course, the whole thing just runs cooler and quieter because of that amazing efficiency. It's just a more modern, well-rounded package. Okay, we've looked at the raw power and the fancy new tech. Now for the round that, let's be honest, matters most to a lot of us builders: value. Let's break down the scorecard and see what you're really getting for your hard-earned cash. And, well, this chart pretty much says it all, doesn't it? If you're buying brand new, today, the RTX 4060 gives you way more performance for every single dollar you spend. That lower price tag combined with its really solid performance gives it a huge lead when you're talking pure bang for your buck. This little spec table really pulls back the curtain on the why behind all these numbers. You can see the 3070's big 256-bit memory bus that gives it that raw power edge. But then you see that massive difference in power draw, and that explains why the 4060 can get away with a smaller and often cheaper power supply. So the final word on value is this. Buying new, the RTX 4060 is absolutely the smarter financial move. However, if you're brave enough to go hunting on the used market, a good deal on a secondhand RTX 3070 could definitely give you more raw horsepower for your money. It really just depends on how you like to shop. So, after all the rounds, who's the winner? The truth is, there isn't one. The best GPU isn't a single champion. It's all about finding the perfect card to dock in your specific build, based on what you care about. So let's break it down by the type of builder you might be. First up, are you a pure performance chaser? You want the absolute highest native frame rates at 1440p, no questions asked. You play a ton of games that don't have DLSS 3, and a higher power build doesn't scare you. If that's you, then the RTX 3070 is your card. It's the brute force champion.
But hey, what if you're building in one of those awesome, tiny, small form factor cases where every degree of heat is your enemy? Or maybe you just want your PC to be whisper quiet. For you, the RTX 4060 is a no-brainer. Its low heat and low power needs make it an absolute dream for these compact and quiet builds.
Now, if you're the kind of person who always wants the latest and greatest, the new hotness, then the RTX 4060 is calling your name. You're the one who wants to crank on DLSS 3 and the newest AAA games, you want the best encoding for your stream, and you value having a forward-looking, efficient rig. And finally, a little shout out to all my fellow deal hunters out there. If you love scouring the secondhand market and you manage to snag an RTX 3070 for a great price, that is an incredible value. You're getting some of the best raw performance from the last generation for what could be an absolute bargain. So, at the end of the day, the choice really comes down to you and what you value most. Are you going with the proven raw power of the veteran? Or are you betting on the smart, efficient, new tech of the challenger? I'd love to know which one you'd pick for your next build.
For a way more detailed breakdown and a ton of other hardware comparisons, you should definitely check out the full guide over at bestgpusforgaming.com. Seriously, they've got all the data you could ever want. Thanks for stopping by, keep it cool, and keep building.